My name is Rory. I'm one of the pastors here. Everybody say hi, Rory. Good to see you all here this morning. All right, so something happened, something not good, and you were upset about it. So you call up your friend. This is the friend that you always call to get you through these things. And you call him up and you say, look, I know you're at work, but when you get out of work at 5 o'clock, I want you to come over to my house because I am dealing with this thing and I need you there. And so you wait. 5 o'clock, they're not there. 6 o'clock, they still haven't got there. 7 o'clock, they're not there. So now you're a little annoyed at this. You call them back up and you leave a message. You say, look, I need you now. I'm at home now. Can you come over now and help me out, get me through this thing? And then it's 9 o'clock, and then it's 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, and they never showed up. And now you're upset at them, maybe a little even more upset at them that they didn't show up than you were at the thing that you were upset with in the first place. So the next day, you wake up and you try and call them, and they're not taking your calls. And you're like, wait a minute, what's the deal with this? You're not taking my calls? Oh, sure. I thought you were my friend. Maybe you're not my friend. Maybe you're only my friend when it's convenient for you to be my friend. All right, that's fine. If that's the way you feel about it, great. I'm going to unfriend you. You unfriend them. You take them off of your phone there. You stop telling your friends about them. You don't go over to visit them anymore. You pretend like they never even existed because they weren't your friend in the first place. Sometimes we do that with God, huh? God, I need you. Something happened or something needs to be happening and it's not happening and I need you to fix it. And I've been praying here. I'm praying, and it feels like my prayers are bouncing off the ceiling and dropping to the floor where they're trampled under my feet. Give me a break, God. Where are you? Come on. And they don't show up. Where is God? He's not there. Fine. Well, if that's the way God feels about me, maybe he's not real at all. Maybe he was never there for me. Maybe he doesn't really love me. So, you know what? I'm going to unfriend him. I'm going to stop telling my friends about him. I'm going to stop going to visit his house on Sundays. I'm going to pretend like he never existed at all in the first place. I'm going to convince myself that I was better off without him. All because he didn't get back to me fast enough. See, here's the thing. We like to have things on our timetable, don't we? Oh, yeah. And usually that means very, very fast. We live in a very fast world today. Microwave ovens, what a great invention. Fast food. We all want fast food. Minute rice, instant coffee, internet. We need high-speed internet. 30 seconds to download something, that's too slow. We need to get her done. In our careers, we want a meteoric rise to the top. We want to be an overnight sensation. And when we don't get it, we get angry. So, why are we talking about this morning? Well, I'll tell you something. One of the greatest destroyers of faith is timing that doesn't fit our preconceived notions. One of the biggest reasons that people give up on God is because it isn't meeting their perceived needs on their perceived time. Now, I know you guys aren't in that category. You haven't given up on God because here you are in church listening to me talk about it. But the sad truth is there may be some of you out there that are very close to giving up on God. There may be some of you out there that have been going through some things and you've been praying and it feels like your prayers have just been bouncing off the ceiling and hitting the floor. Where are you, God? Give me a break. Hello? Others out there may be just trying to figure out this whole God thing, and you might be saying to yourselves, well, okay, I'll come here and I'll figure it out, and God, if you're real, prove it to me. Show me. Take care of this problem that I have. Take care of this need, and then I will worship you. May I be so brash as to point out that if that's what you're doing, you aren't genuinely asking, are you real, God? You're saying, if you're real, will you work for me? Because I want to call the shots. I want what I want, and I want it when I want it. And I expect you to get it done. All right, I've said this before from up here, and I'm going to say it again. You're not God. I'm not God. Say it with me. I'm not God. Turn to the person next to you, either side, and just say to them, I'm not God. You know what? You didn't surprise them. They knew that. And deep down in your heart, you know that too. You know you're not God. You know you don't get to say what and when and where and how. It's not up to you. We want to, but it's out of our control. Now, some people might say to me, Rory, look, listen, no, you get it wrong. I'm not trying to be God. But I am turning to God to take care of my problems or pave the way to my success, to pull a few strings, to grease a few wheels, to maybe whisper into somebody's mind and make them think the way I think. Because we all know the way I think is right. You're not God. All right, we've established you're not God. Let's take a look at what God is not. God is not a genie in a bottle that you found on the beach and you rubbed and you set him free and now he owes you whatever for his freedom. You did not give God his freedom. God gave you your freedom. He set you free. He already gave you the greatest possible gift out there. God doesn't owe you anything. To think he does, or to make bargains with him in exchange for some favors that he might do for you, is to misunderstand the nature of God completely. No, Rory, you misunderstand. I'm not saying he's a genie. What I'm saying is he's a father. He's a good father who wants to take care of his child and wants his child to be happy, right? Doesn't it say that in the Bible, that he's a father? Yeah, he's a father. Yeah. But what you're saying now is that you know what's best for his child. Okay, we have parents in here, don't we? So how many parents have small kids that know what's best for them? Of course they don't. Otherwise they'd be eating chocolate-covered sugar bombs every day for breakfast. Every day for lunch, McDonald's. Every day for dinner, McDonald's. Daddy, can I drive? Not until you can reach the pedals and see over the steering wheel. Mom, can I get my ears pierced and wear makeup and high heels? No. Why not? I'm almost a teenager. What do you mean? So what if I came in at 2 o'clock in the morning and I was out drinking with my friends? I can take care of myself. I know what's best for me. Oh, really? Boy, there isn't a parent in this room that doesn't laugh at that or cry. The thing is, we as parents are telling our kids, no, you shouldn't do this, because out of our personal experience, we know what the result of this might be. There could be a negative situation come out of this. We know this from our experience. And we are guessing that this might turn out badly. But God isn't guessing. God knows. God knows every possible future, every possible outcome. He knows what's going to happen if you do this. So when God says no, he's got a good reason for it. And here's something to remember. Sometimes when God seems like God's saying no, sometimes he's not. Sometimes he's just saying, not yet. You guys have all heard that expression, everything in God's timing. Oh, everything in God's timing. I hate that. Everything in God's timing. I don't want it in God's timing. I want it in my timing. I want to get it done. We've all seen the little kid with the mom in Walmart or Kmart. I want the candy. I want it. I want candy. I want this candy. And the mom says, no, all right, look, if you behave yourself for the rest of the day, you can take the candy, we take it home, you can have it later. I want it now. I want it now. I want it now. Okay, you can have it now. Oh. And every one of us that have watched that parent turn and give in to that has said to ourselves, oh, bad parenting. But with God, sometimes we are the spoiled child. We want it now. Now. Is there anybody here who's asked the question, God, where are you? Or God, why don't you do something about that? We all know what that is. It's different for each person. For you, that, why don't you do something about that? That could be at home right now. That could be at work. When you go into work tomorrow, that could be waiting for you. For some of you, that's sitting next to you right here. That could be that illness that is coming. Or that could be those fires in California, the terrorist bombing in Myanmar, the flooding in Texas, the people of Puerto Rico having no power for like a month. That could be some crazy person opening fire into a crowd at a concert. Just raise your hand if you have ever asked that question, God, why don't you take care of that? Leave your hands up if you've asked that question. Now look around. It's almost everybody, except for those that didn't understand the question. Or the ones that just went, well, what? Is he doing something? But you're not alone. Everybody asks this question. It's important for us to know that. So what's the answer to all this? Well, interestingly, Jesus didn't teach on this subject. He went further. Jesus created an illustration to teach us about this situation. This I need you now, not tomorrow, today, or it's too late situation. And it takes place in the Bible in John chapter 11. It's the story of Mary and Martha and Lazarus. So if you have a Bible, feel free to open it up and follow along. Or you can open up your programs, because in the program notes, we've got the entire thing printed there. You can follow along, or you can follow along on the screens behind me, which is what I like to do when I'm sitting out there. So this is chapter 11, John. It's the story of Mary and Martha and their brother Lazarus are members of this little family, by the way, were among Jesus' closest friends when he was alive on earth. And it starts out like this. A man named Lazarus was sick. He lived in the town of Bethany, where Mary and her sister Martha lived. Mary was the woman, John says this sort of as an aside, Mary was the woman who later put perfume on the Lord and wiped his feet with her hair. So that's not a John story, by the way, which is not in John. It's in the book of Luke. But he just, a little reference over there so you'll know which Mary we're talking about. Mary's brother was Lazarus, the man who was now sick. So Mary and Martha sent someone to tell Jesus, Lord, the one you love is sick. Now, let's stop there for just a moment. They didn't send a note that said, Lazarus is sick. Lord, the one you love is sick. The one you love. That's pretty good, to be the one that Jesus loves. I know Lazarus had a vanity plate on the back of his donkey cart. It said, JCLVS, me. This is important. It's an important part of the story to know that Jesus loved Lazarus. So when Jesus heard this, he said, the sickness will not end in death. It is for the glory of God, to bring glory to the Son of God. And then he says it again. Jesus loved Martha and her sister and Lazarus. Important. But when he heard Lazarus was sick, he stayed where he was for 2 more days. Now, this isn't expected, really, because Mary and Martha had every reason to expect that Jesus would respond. And in fact, his followers probably did. They were all probably sitting around. The messenger comes in with a scroll. He opens it up and goes, oh, the one you love is sick. And they all probably got, well, okay, here we go. And he went, no, sit down. We're not going anywhere right now. They had every reason to expect that he would get up and head back there. And Mary and Martha, they sent off the messenger. The messenger comes back and says, yeah, I gave him the message. And now they're waiting. They're watching the street, down the street, looking for that little cloud of dust of the people approaching. And there's nothing happening. He's not coming. And they're waiting, and they're waiting, and they're waiting. And hours turns into days. And they're waiting. What's the deal? Where's Jesus? The one he loves is dying. Didn't he get the message? Didn't he know the seriousness of this? Didn't he care? The sisters are sitting, watching their brother just waste away, get sicker and sicker and sicker. And they got, like, what's the deal with Jesus? Because the reason they sent for him was because they were expecting him to come and fix the situation, because everybody knows that Jesus can heal. Everybody's seen it. They've seen him heal lepers. They've seen him give the blind people their sight back. I mean, those are impossible things. But we got a sick guy here. We just want to get him healed here. That's not so hard for Jesus. Where is he? And I can imagine them saying to each other, I don't get it. Where is this guy? I thought he loved us. Why would he abandon this? And then Lazarus dies. And still, no Jesus. So they wrap him in this burial cloth, and they put him in a tomb, and they have a little funeral. I imagine all through the funeral, they're like, I can't believe he didn't show up. Not too late. It's too late. They put him in the tomb. They seal the tomb up. This is kind of where we live sometimes. It's like, where is he? Where is he? And now it's too late. Then Jesus said to his followers, let's go back to Judea. And the followers said, but teacher, some people there tried to stone you to death only a short time ago. Now you want to go back there? See, what they're saying here is, Jesus, when people try and stone you, sometimes they miss you and they hit us. I mean, we're with you. I don't know that we really want to go back there at this point. And Jesus says this to answer that question. Are there not 12 hours in the day? If anyone walks in the daylight, he will not stumble because he can see by this world's light. But if anyone walks at night, he stumbles because there is no light to help him see. What? Well, I can just see them going, what did he say? I don't know. What did he mean? I don't know. As Jesus is doing his allegorical thing again. So here's what he's saying. The 12 hours of daylight represents Jesus' time here on earth. And then the darkness is going to come when he leaves the earth. And that's going to be the nighttime. See, so the 12 hours, we got some opportunity here. We got 12 hours of daylight here. We got opportunity. When I leave this earth, the light goes out. So while you have me, get up and follow me, because I am about to give you inspiration forever. So after Jesus said this, he added, our friend Lazarus has fallen asleep, and I'm going to go there to wake him. And the followers, of course, they're, again, sometimes not so bright. But Lord, if he's only asleep, he'll be all right. Like, if he's sleeping, fine. The fever probably broke, he's good. Let's give medical advice to God. And Jesus meant that Lazarus was dead, of course, but his followers thought he meant Lazarus was really sleeping. So then Jesus said plainly, Lazarus is dead. And I'm glad for your sakes that I was not there, so that you may believe. That's an interesting statement. I'm glad that I wasn't there for your sakes, not for his sake, because he's got to be heartbroken. He loved Lazarus, but he's doing this for them. He actually allowed someone he loved to die so he can bring them to full grown-up faith. And that's what's about to happen here. So let's go to him now, he says. Then Thomas, the one called Didymus, is in parentheses, and I think one called Didymus, although, I think, it should say the one called Eeyore. Because, Eeyore, right? Everybody has an Eeyore in their life. It's not going to work out. It's going to be, so Thomas, the one called Didymus, says to the other followers, yeah, let us also go so that we can die with him. We're all going to get stoned to death. So when Jesus arrived, he learns that Lazarus has already been dead and in the tomb for 4 days. Now, Bethany is about 2 miles from Jerusalem. Many of the Jews had come there to comfort Martha and Mary about their brother. And when Martha heard that Jesus was coming, she went out to greet him, but Mary stayed home. Why did Mary stay home? Because she's mad at Jesus. You go. Too late. And when Martha gets there, she fully could have said, like, where have you been, sir? We tried to tell you that your friend was dying, but no, you didn't pay any attention to us. A little late now. You could have saved him. Apparently, there were more important things on your mind. She didn't say that. What she did say was simpler, but maybe even more convicting. What she said was this: Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. And she adds this, but I know that even now, God will give you anything that you ask. And Jesus says, your brother will rise and live again. And Martha answered, I know that he'll rise and live again in the resurrection on the last day. We've all had that teaching. I know. He's going to rise again in the last day. This is that he's in a better place moment that we have in our lives. Oh, he's in a better place now. Yeah, I know that. But you could have saved him. So Jesus said to her, she says, I know that I'll rise again in the resurrection last day. And Jesus says, I am the resurrection and the life. Those who believe in me will have life even if they die. Now listen to him saying this. He says it very clearly here. He's taught it before, and now he's restating it. Those who believe in me will have life even if they die, and everyone who lives and believes in me will never die. And then he looks right at her and he says, Martha, do you believe this? And what he's saying is, do you believe that I am who I am, even though I'm not acting the way you think that I should be acting? And Martha says, yes, Lord, I believe that you are the Christ, the Son of God, and the one coming to the world. Martha decides, yes. So after Martha said this, she went back and talked to her sister Mary alone. Martha said, the teacher's here, and he's asking for you. So when Mary heard this, she got up quickly, and she went to Jesus. Jesus had not yet come into town, was still at the place where Martha had met him. And the Jews were with Mary in the house, comforting her. When they saw her stand and leave quickly, they followed her, thinking she was going to the tomb to cry there, so they could be with her. Back then they had the weepers and mourners. They had professional people that would come at a funeral and cry and weep and moan and wail for a funeral. So some of these Jewish people were probably part of that group. But Mary went to the place where Jesus was, not to the tomb. And when she saw him, she fell at his feet and said, Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. I don't think that she fell at his feet like, oh, I'm worshiping you, fell at his feet. I think she just collapsed at his feet and said, just out of pure sorrow, out of pure just exhaustion, after waiting for him, and just fell at his feet. Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. If you had been here. Isn't that what we all say? Man, where were you, God? Apparently you're disinterested. You're inattentive. Apparently you were late. I thought you cared. But apparently you don't. And when Jesus saw Mary crying and the Jews who came with her also crying, he was upset and was deeply troubled. Even though he had a plan all along, it still hurt to have to do this. When we withhold something from our children and we see that look in their eyes like, I so want that, but we know they can't have that, it hurts us to do that. Boy, when our kids were little, one day we planned to go to the circus. The kids hadn't been to the circus yet. Ringley Brothers, Barnum and Bailey Circus come into town. When I was young, I was a clown in the circus. So this was a big deal to me. I'm going to introduce my kids to the circus. We planned it for weeks. And that morning, My son told a lie. Oh, an obvious lie. We knew it was a lie. And we said, that's a lie. And then he lied about telling a lie. No, it's not. And then we explained how we knew it was a lie, and we looked him right in the eye, and he said, no, denied it again. So we had to cancel the circus. That was hard. It was hard for all of us. I went in the other room and started weeping because it was a big deal. It was a big planned out thing, but it was hard. And Jesus says, where did you bury him? Come and see, Lord, they said. And Jesus cried. That's the shortest verse in the Bible. It's well known for that. Jesus cried or Jesus wept. That's a whole verse, though. It has its own spot. It's a whole verse. Jesus cried. Why is that? Because the writer of the scripture, it was so important. He wanted it to have its own spot there. Because what he's saying to us is that Jesus feels for us. Jesus is compassionate for us. It hurts him. He hurts along with us when we hurt. He's not just this omnipresent guy that looks down on us like little children, they don't know. It hurts him. And sometimes we don't need somebody to fix it. Sometimes we just need somebody to sit and cry with. So the Jews saw him crying. They said, see how much he loved him? Again, important, Jesus loved him. But some of them said, well, if Jesus opened his eyes of a blind man, why couldn't he keep Lazarus from dying? In other words, why didn't he do something about that? Again, feeling very upset, Jesus came to the tomb. Not feeling cavalier or superior, feeling very upset. There was a cave with a large stone covering the entrance. Jesus said, move the stone away. Martha, the sister of the dead man, said, but Lord, it's been 4 days since he died. There will be a bad smell. Now, one of the things you need to know, in first century times in this area, they had a superstition. The superstition was that the soul would stay with the body for 3 days, but on the 4th day, it would leave. It would depart after 3 days. Once the body was so rotted away and so, just unfixable no matter what, the soul would leave. So this is 4 days. Too late. And she says, and there will be a bad smell. I guess she's kind of saying, this whole thing stinks. And Jesus said to her, and to you, and to me, didn't I tell you that if you believed, you would see the glory of God? And so they moved the stone away from the entrance, and Jesus looked up and said, Father, I thank you that you heard me. I know that you always hear me, but I said these things because of the people here around me. I want them to believe that you sent me. Again, Jesus taking the emphasis off him and up to the Father. And Jesus said this. He cried out in a loud voice, Lazarus, come out. And the dead man came out, his hands and feet wrapped with pieces of cloth and a cloth around his face. I don't know if you're familiar with the 1940s Boris Karloff mummy movie. That's probably what it looked like. And Jesus says, take the cloth off and let him go. And he has to say that. Why? Because nobody's going up to this guy. They're all like, I'm sure everybody's freaked out. And Jesus says, hey, take the cloth off and let him go. And many of the people who had come to visit Mary and saw what Jesus did believed in him. Yeah, I'll bet they did. That's one of the big moments in the Bible. Jesus says to the weather, oh, calm down, and it does. Jesus walks on water. Jesus takes this man dead 4 days and brings him back to life. But the thing is, in this story, in this illustration that Jesus consciously created for everyone, the master isn't late. Not late at all. He only appears to be overdue. He arrived at precisely the right moment to fulfill the purposes of God, just as he always does. See, our Father knows that instant gratification does not lead to wisdom. That every wish fulfilled doesn't make us a better person or draw us closer to him. We're spoiled children, and sometimes we need to learn to trust him even when it seems not to make sense, or even when it seems too late. Even when everything is over and done with, Jesus is saying there is still glory to be seen. All right, I know this sermon isn't emotionally satisfying. But it's not about feeling better. It's about knowing better. It's about trusting God, staying connected to him, even when we're feeling bad. Because we know that there's more to all of this than we can possibly understand. And this amazing, true story is the candle that Jesus gives us. God gives us this, the light in darkness, the hope. When and where we think there is no hope left, even when we think it's too late, even after death, even after Jesus' death, there was still more to come. So, when people ask, why doesn't God do something about that? The very unsatisfying answer is, we don't know. We know he can. We know sometimes he waits, and we know we can trust him in the meantime. He can. Sometimes he waits, but we got to trust him in the meantime. Because he said, didn't I tell you, if you believed, you would see the glory of God, even when it seemed impossibly too late. So if God is late on something that's happening in your life, and you are at that, really? Little help here point. Remember this, if you continue to believe and trust, eventually you will see the glory of God. Join me in prayer. Father God, thank you so much for this amazing lesson that you did for us. We know it's not easy to go through this life. It wasn't easy for Jesus. This particular story shows that he hurt along with us. And we know he's there. For those people that have been waiting and waiting and waiting and feel like their prayers have been bouncing off the ceiling, I pray for them today that they might find some peace. Holy Spirit, walk with them and give them guidance and encouragement. God, Father, give them your strength, the strength that goes beyond what we have. And Jesus, just be there for us. Sometimes we just need to sit with you and cry. Thank you for the lesson. We pray this in your name, Jesus. Amen.